Welcome to the Scam Economy with your host, Matt Bender.
Look who's calling in. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
G'day, Matt. It's John from Australia. How you doing?
Hey, John from Australia. Let me just tell you, I saw your name, and you haven't called in, about, I think it's been close to 2 months. But hold whatever thought you were calling in for. I was just listening to our last call earlier today because I was clipping your call and that call that you called in the last time to bring up from February, from that person who had staked their money in Celsius and called into the show, of course, months before Celsius would go bankrupt. And I'm taking those two calls to put together for an episode when I am away for a week. So I saw your name come up and I was like, oh, I just heard this guy's voice earlier today.
Well, that's great to hear. That's awesome. I have no idea how that call managed to sit in the back of my brain for that long to be able to recall it so quickly. But there you go.
What's crazy is like I when you were telling me about the call, I did not know what call you were talking about, and I assumed it was like some full-on crypto guy who was like arguing the pro crypto like full board, like a fully on board crypto advocate who was arguing with me. And then I went to listen to the call today for the first time. And it was a guy who was a fan of the Majority Report and bringing up how like Sam and myself were, critical in his political growth, and how he just like thought we were dropping the ball, like the left or progressives were dropping the ball on crypto. And, he wasn't even fully like gung-ho about it. He was just like, it's a thing, it's taking off, and I feel like I have to get on board or I'll lose out. And one of the things he got on board was staking his crypto via Celsius. And then I felt really bad, much worse than I felt when I just assumed this was like a guy trying to sell me on Celsius. No. I wish he would call in. I'm not even like to dunk on him or be like, oh, I told you, because it wasn't like that at all. I hope he calls in because I want to know, so it could be like, a warning to people that like these companies, maybe not Celsius and Voyager in name or even leadership, but the idea of crypto lending companies are far from dead, and more companies will pop up, and people should stay away.
Yeah. Yep. That it honestly, it really does. Like listening back to it really did hurt. Like the thing that really really struck me and sort of hit hard was that I remember being in the audience when that call was happening. I remember being in chat, and at that time, Celsius had already been like hacked, quote unquote. They'd already lost a bunch of funds because one of their employees had signed into one of the massive company custodial wallets, as in the account with all of the money in it, had signed into that with MetaMask on just their computer.
Right. You had mentioned that in the call,
and
right?
Had been scammed. Yeah.
Right.
That had happened before the caller called in. So I'm in the chat sort of screaming like, caller, please, like, take your funds out while you can. This is not a reputable organization. Like, if they're able to just like log into the company bank account and get hacked like so easily, this is not the space that you want to be playing in. This is not what you want to be advocating for. You got to take, if you're on top, amazing, perfect, cut and run. And I sincerely do hope that they manage to.
Right. I'm assuming, though, you didn't call in to talk about the last time you called in, which was to talk about a call you remembered from February.
Yeah, it was just every call getting increasingly meta. No, what I was going to call in about was something a little bit closer to home something a little bit closer to home for me, which is related to an industry that I have a lot of connections to, which is the games industry, and based in Australia. So a company that's quite popular and is quite sort of a known name in the crypto scene is an Australian company based in Sydney called Immutable. That name might sound familiar if you've been following this space. They were in partnership, quote unquote partnership, with TikTok to deliver their TikTok related NFTs. They were in partnership, quote unquote partnership, with GameStop in order to develop the GameStop marketplace.
Right. Okay.
Now their primary role is they run a side chain. Their own little private blockchain that they do stuff on and offer it as a product, a platform, APIs, all of this stuff. But not only that, they're also a pretty heavy investor in the space. They've gotten a lot of funding coming into them from places like Alameda Research, so Sam Bankman-Fried, who everyone should know as the main guy from FBX. FBX, is it FBX? FTX.
FTX, yes. I
FTX,
had a mental
sorry.
block for a second because I was trying to remember which one of the crypto lenders, because we had talked about Alameda a couple episodes ago. I can't remember if they were if they were owed money by Voyager or Celsius. I want to say Voyager, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't recall. It's in one of the episodes.
They could be owed money by Voyager. They could be owed money by Celsius. They could be owed money by Three Arrows Capital. It could be anyone, right? Like this whole industry is incredibly intermixed.
It's incestual, really. I mean, it's. I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if it was all of the above, but yeah. So Immutable is the GameStop NFT marketplace is interesting. I haven't followed it too closely. It seems like even the people in the already existing NFT space find it bizarre because it exists in its own little world. Like I had seen chatter in NFT circles, like actual people who regularly are in the NFT space on like OpenSea, and they were like, I saw them like mocking the top selling NFT projects on the GameStop marketplace because it was like, who are these guys? Where did they come from? These people aren't part of like the NFT community. We've never heard of them before. And these were like major names in the NFT space, I think. That's all I really know of GameStop, that there's something, they're like living their own bubble in the space. But what were you going to say about Immutable?
So this company is known for a couple of things, and as I said, they've got a lot of funding coming in, and they've started sort of handing out their own funding. They're doing the sort of the same thing as Andreessen Horowitz A16Z, running their own sort of Web3 gaming play to earn incubator funds in order to sort of entice existing game studios into doing more Web3 related content. The reason why I call up about this particular company is because they have a game that has been around for quite some time, and I think maybe just after the original launch of CryptoKitties on the Ethereum blockchain, which I think it was around 2018. So they're an older NFT project. It's a trading card game you play online. The cards are NFTs, right? They, I think in June this year, announced that they'd received $500 million in funding. So a significant chunk of change.
Right.
In July,
to say the least,
just gone.
I almost feel like significant chunk of change is downplaying it.
Yep, and I think late last year they received another $200 million in funding. They are like awash with cash. In July this year, July just gone, they sacked 17% of their workforce. And in particular, from the articles that I've read, the most heavily impacted team was the Gods Unchained, which is this play-to-earn NFT card game. Although I suspect they would probably rebuff the play-to-earn moniker now. The only people left in that team now, according to articles about this, are C-suite, so chief of whatevers, and junior staff. So all of their senior team, their long-term members, all that sort of stuff, they're gone. Developers gone. They've just got juniors and they've got execs. In fact, they did a massive. They hired on this year, I think something like six people into their C-suite. Chief of vibes, chief of whatever, all of these different Web3 related titles. Chief of not losing the company treasury to a MetaMask hack or whatever these titles are. And they plan on, in the next year, growing their player base from a speculated 10,000, because they, to my knowledge, the numbers aren't public, to multiple millions with a team of juniors.
I mean, where did the money go? What are they doing?
Where did the multiple hundred millions of dollars go in the last 6 months or 9 months or something?
I'm actually, like, as you're talking to me, I'm like searching here to find out what's going on here, and I can't find it. Like, first of all, for a company that has received that much money in funding, very little media coverage, and that's unusual. I don't even see like a. I don't know. Let me see if I type it in straight up. Yeah, I guess there's some coverage. They're valued at, but none of the coverage is about the most recent stuff. It's about their valuation of $2.5 billion in March of 2022. I mean, that makes them a unicorn in the tech space. And then here, okay, I see 1, 2, 3, but these are all, and then only the gaming space I see, and then here's one crypto article, Bitcoin from Bitcoinist. But other than that, here's a gaming space seems to be covering this more so about the layoffs.
Yep.
Well, I mean, something's not right. Something's off.
No, and so the one sort of thing that and it is mentioned in the articles.
2 weeks ago, they put out a press release from the PR Newswire. Immutable hires Polygon exec to level up layer 2 marketing. So they're hiring, bigwigs over from other blockchain networks.
Yes,
and then a couple weeks later, laying off. Here we go. This local Australian news coverage from news.com.au. Aussie company sacks staff in 30 minutes. Australian crypto platform Immutable sacks 6% of staff despite plans to hire aggressively. The company, valued at a whopping $3.5 billion, let go 17% of its staff from one division in a devastating decision as the union raises concerns. Yeah, something is weird.
Yeah, that's the next part of this story. Props to the Australian Game Workers Union, Game Workers Australia, which is the freshly formed as of this year union in Australia for the games industry, who are working with staff who were laid off to look at their legal options and perhaps maybe press this point a little bit, because there's a lot of suspicion around the fact that they've let go all of these staff very, very quickly, made them redundant, which is a specific term that has very specific meaning in terms of employment as to what your entitlements are and how you're let go and all of sort of this sort of thing. The main sort of red flag here is that they are hiring still, and that they are hiring for positions that look very similar to the ones that they just let these people go for. Now, if we're going to get into a little bit of speculation, because I don't want to speak about the specific case too much, but if we look at things like in the US, which I'm happy to speculate about, Coinbase and all of the exchanges, Kraken and the like, that recently, I think a couple of months ago, the reporting was that they were rescinding offers that they had sent out. They were getting rid of staff left, right, and center. the suspicion and the general suspicion is amongst skeptics that they're letting these staff go because these people were hired during the bull run for very generous remuneration packages. Now that we are in the bear market, they don't want to keep paying these people's salaries at the rate that they are at. The offers that went out when the market was quite high, they are rescinding those because they want to rehire at much lower rates.
That's obviously speculation because we don't have any concrete evidence that that's the fact, but I think that's a very well educated guess because it seems quite accurate based on what we do know has been going on elsewhere in the space.
Yeah, yep. And again, as I say, I don't want to talk too much about this specific case because I'm a little closer to it. But what I will do is, if you're particularly interested, I'll DM you a couple of articles from some reputable games press in Australia that have done a bit of digging on this.
Yes, please do. And if you know anyone specific to talk to about this, because in addition to the bit of news that just happened in terms of the layoffs and everything, it would be very interesting to dig into Immutable in general based on their involvement with the GameStop NFT marketplace.
Yeah, and I think that there would be I think that's definitely something worth looking into because not only Immutable, but companies like Immutable, I think, is a particularly interesting case because they seem to have their name tied to a lot of projects that no one can really tell what they've actually done. So they do these big TikTok. It's a TikTok NFT partnership, but where are these TikTok NFTs? What did they actually do? No one really knows. But the announcement got so much press, and their token absolutely was spiked on all of these press announcements. But
wait, hold on. This is hilarious. Hold on. All right, so all these new, I'm looking up TikTok and Immutable, and it seems like all these press releases came out in like September, late September, early October 2021. So almost a year ago now. And on Immutable's website, they have like TikTok.immutable, and it consisted of auctions for, it looks like NFT art that comes from various TikTok creators. Oh, look who's there, Gary V. Amazing. But there you go. Honestly, it seems like it's mostly people like Gary V. And other names in the NFT space. Not really many. Someone named Coin Artist, XOR, Jess the Mess, RTFKT. Maybe some of these people are TikTok names, but some of these I recognize from the NFT space. But okay, so timeline here is for all this. TikTok even posted it on their newsroom page as an official TikTok press release. TikTok launches first creator-led NFT collection. But then we have fast forward to December. And TikTok shelved Lil Nas X's NFT over, I guess, it was announced, and Lil Nas's fan base, who doesn't seem like they'd be too into NFTs, complained, and so he wanted to cancel it.
Very, very sort of quietly kind of pulled that, yes.
An NFT collaboration, this is from The Fader, an NFT collaboration between TikTok and Lil Nas X will no longer be released. Oh, and they sourced it to the Rolling Stone. The digital art was set to be revealed, but sources close to TikTok tell Rolling Stone that the program's rollout has been a challenge, a mess, and a complete joke. It sounds like it might be a little bit more than just...
Sounds like the work of a $2 billion valued company for sure.
Right. Oh, boy. Oh, this is... Oh my God. Amazing. Truthfully amazing.
So that is definitely something worth looking into. Having a look at Immutable and companies like them who get into these very they're sending out PR blasts about their partnerships and all this sort of stuff, and they just so happen to have a governance token that spikes in value, and then the actual product that they supposedly are going to partnership with or deliver kind of just fizzles out and turns into nothing. Very similar to the helium and lime story that you so fantastically broke last episode. Great job on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's that's it's the whole fake it till you make it mentality has always been a part of like not even just like tech startup culture, but like the gross like online entrepreneur culture. I'm sure it goes even further than just even online. I'm sure there's been like, construction businesses for years, like, talking up some sort of partnership they had with a major like Fortune 500 company that they really didn't have, or had some like barely like they worked with like an employee's home and said they worked with their company or something. I'm sure there's always been some sort of that going on. But like I think I said this on I might not have, but I think I said this on that episode. But how like the reason why this is so problematic here is, in the Web3 space, the users aren't just using these platforms, and then if the platform fails, it's c'est la vie. Maybe I lost some posts, but I had no financial investment. That's not the case here. The users in any of these Web3 projects at some level have made a financial investment, and they did not get a product or service in return. Their financial investment was made in this company on the basis that they would make money off of whatever they put into this company.
Absolutely, and to tie it into the topic of today's show, something I only managed to catch maybe the last 10-15 minutes of the show. I'll be looking forward to going back to it and watching again. But something that the guest mentioned that I sort of maybe disagree with a bit is that they said that they believed that SpiceDAO did want to do, right by this work, right? That they wanted to preserve it and all of this thing. And I thought, I've been following SpiceDAO sort of towards the beginning, and I've also followed Constitution DAO as well. And I would argue that, you could probably say that of the rank and file retail investors, the people buying the token. I think that they're probably, yes, they see something there. They believe in the preservation of this work or whatever, what have you, right? Some of them, perhaps. The people running the project, absolutely not. I absolutely reject the notion that they give any, like they absolutely don't care. If you look at the actions of the group, right? Their proposed projects, their proposed things that they were planning on doing with it. Oh, they're going to have it at Comic-Con and someone's going to be there and turn in the pages so you can see it. Or you're going to be able to do this, or you're going to be able to do that, right? Everything that they proposed was with the express or sometimes not expressed intent of spiking the value of the token. Everything they did. There was no talk of, we're going to like preserve this work. We're going to have it archived. We're going to do this. No. None of that. It was all, we're going to make a movie. We're going to make more money. The token's going to go through the roof. And no one mentioned financial returns. I can't say, please don't say security. Please don't say dividends. Please don't say, this, that's FUD. Please don't, no FUDding. But we're gonna make it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna make this funny. We're gonna get this person involved. We're gonna get that person involved. Grimes is gonna do the soundtrack. Can you imagine the hint, the unsaid thing through every single one of these announcements is, and can you imagine the spice that you've got, the SpiceDAO tokens that you've got? Can you imagine the value that's gonna go when Grimes is doing the soundtrack for our Dune-inspired anime? You're going to 10x overnight. That's the unsaid implication of every single one of those announcements.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is a great point, and you know what? I tend to agree with you. I think I think it's easy, I guess, to if you're a fan of Dune and sci-fi, I guess, take in that what they were doing, even stepping out. Like, my guest covered this for months, and she was her reporting on this was great. But I guess
Mhm.
even on that aspect, like I guess if you're a fan of like take the crypto away, if you're the fan of this sort of thing in like the I'm not even talking about crypto space, in like the geek space. People enjoy their sci-fi and their classic science fiction epic dramas, and I think maybe you would hope that if someone is getting involved on something that in that space that you also love, that they have the best intentions, and maybe some of the people did. I would hope myself, but yeah, without a doubt, if once the crypto people got involved, um, then clearly that's what they care about. I mean, they didn't care about Dune. They cared about spike in the value of that coin, spike in the spice.
Yeah, and no, and I don't want that to come across as me sort of disrespecting your guest. I've
Oh
been
no, no,
following
I
it for
don't think so.
covering it absolutely. Like props to them. Props to everyone who covers this space. But it's those little things like that where I'm sort of like, I don't know, we're giving them a little bit too much of the benefit of the doubt here, or that sort of thing. I've taken up too much of your time already. I want to leave you with one more thing. That is uh, what feels like a decade ago. um, Ubisoft announced an NFT program that they were doing with a popular video game series called Rainbow Six.
They're doing Rainbow Six NFTs.
Well, not so much anymore.
Oh, okay.
They relatively quickly pulled it, but well, pulled it. It kind of just floundered, really. No one bought it. There was a report, a couple of investigations people did after the fact, and they said like, oh, this Ubisoft NFT thing's been around for like a couple of weeks now, and it's made 60. So there's been $60 worth of sales total, and everyone was like, oh, this is kind of embarrassing. But the main thing that was of interest to me in that event, and again sort of ties to what I called about earlier, which is and I can't remember the name for the life of me. And if I had it in front of me, I would butcher the pronunciation. But the French Video Game Workers Union put out a statement at the time. They represent workers at Ubisoft, and I'm trying to remember if they're a Ubisoft specific union. I don't think they are. I think they're just a general game workers union. But they represent a lot of Ubisoft employees. They put out a statement around NFTs and gaming and play to earn and all of this stuff. They're very vocal against it. And I don't want to speak for Game Workers Australia, but the folks I've spoken to there who are across this stuff, even though they're representing workers who work at these companies, they're not particularly fond of the idea of play to earn, of NFTs and all that stuff in games. There's sort of, again, I don't want to speak for them, but a lot of people see it as this kind of encroachment of this kind of sort of infectious kind of monetization, financialization of something that's meant to be sort of thing that brings people joy and pleasure, and is an interesting way to share our experiences in our culture. So what I will do, as I said, I'll send you some information about Immutable, but I'll also send you some stuff about the Game Workers Union in France, who put out a statement regarding the Ubisoft NFTs, because I think it's interesting to see game studios, not just gamers, players of games, coming out sort of vocally against NFTs, but game studios, workers at these places, saying this is crap, like this is bad, like we don't want this. The promises that they're making, they can't fulfill, and even if they could, the notion of it is antithetical to what we want to do.
Oh yeah, I mean the gaming world has been absolutely incredible when it comes to this stuff, and I know it's not just the actual consumers and video game fans, the gamers. I've seen this blowback from a ton of video game developers as well. I mean, the idea that you would create a play to earn game in this space seems like seems like sort of dirty. Like, why wouldn't you have gone into like creating, casino games, like creating like slots, new slot machine games and shit like that? But no, you went into like these type of video games because you wanted to create entertaining games that people play for enjoyment, not because they hope to cash out and win big.
Exactly, and it's usually off the backs of folks in the Philippines, in the case of Axie Infinity, or Venezuela, or these sort of places. Like, these are the people who are sort of creating, quote unquote, the value, and doing a lot of the work behind the scenes in these things that are kind of propping these markets up to a degree. And when their return drops, right, when their with the money, the scant money that they end up making from these platforms dips below the minimum wage, in the case of Axie Infinity in the Philippines, they leave, and the entire platform collapses because, surprise, they're the ones kind of holding this thing up.
Right.
I'll get out of your hair and let you take some other calls.
All right, John from Australia, everybody. As always, fantastic call, and I got to tell you, I'm pretty sure you just made it to another bonus episode on the main podcast stream for a week when I'm off. This was fantastic. Definitely get me those links. I'll do a full episode on this. I've been meaning to do more about video games and NFTs, but then all this stuff just came out at once with the crypto lenders, and then the Helium story, and then the Spice DAO basically falling to pieces. And I bet something new will pop up every other day for the next who knows how long. But I definitely want to at least do, at the very least, a couple of episodes in the next couple of weeks on what's going on with video games and NFTs. So definitely get me those links.
Look, you've got your work cut out for you, because that Solana wallet hack just happened as well. So
right, I totally forgot about that. I oh my God. And then there was another Mike Bergersberg of Dirty Bubble Media, who's been on this show. He had a report out today about a fake crypto exchange stole $60 million. It's tied to a massive web of fraud and to MEXC Global, a quote-unquote legitimate exchange with $1 billion in daily volume.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the fake crypto exchange is called BitDog X. Apparently, my God, literally, I could probably make a daily show about this. I mean, I know I'm pretty sure CoinDesk does a daily show on crypto, but I think their coverage of the space probably a little bit different than mine.